$100 billion gone, 12,000 electric vehicles seized, and over 200,000 workers laid off in just 3 weeks.
Welcome to our deep dive analysis of one of the most shocking disruptions in global trade and industry that has sent tremors well beyond the auto sector. In today's video, we explore how an unprecedented combination of European regulatory actions and sweeping U.S. tariff policies has turned the U.S. auto industry, and much more, upside down. Over the next several minutes, and in this detailed narrative script, we will unravel the dramatic chain reaction sparked by Europe's bold moves against American manufacturers, examine the turmoil rocking Wall Street, and highlight how competitors from Japan and beyond have capitalized on the chaos. Whether you're an industry insider, an economics enthusiast, or simply looking for insight into how international policies affect everyday lives, this comprehensive breakdown will leave you both informed and engaged. Europe, home to some of the world's largest and most influential economic powers, has decided to stand up to the challenges posed by the U.S. auto industry's traditional dominance. The actions taken by key countries have not only placed intense scrutiny on American manufacturing, but have also dramatically reshaped the competitive landscape. In an unprecedented move, Germany's leading economic voices, spearheaded by Chancellor Olaf Scholz, have declared the newly imposed U.S. tariffs fundamentally wrong. The German government has frozen the certification process for U.S.-made electric vehicles. Under a new law that demands strict adherence to data security and emission standards, giant manufacturers such as Tesla, Ford, and General Motors now find themselves questioning the viability of their production models and compliance capabilities. This bold decision disrupts the market outlook by halting the entry of thousands of vehicles into one of Europe's largest economies. France has taken a decidedly aggressive stance by introducing a heavy carbon tax targeting America's heavy-duty vehicles. This newly unleashed tax heavily penalizes U.S. SUVs and trucks by calculating charges based on weight and fuel consumption. French authorities argue that this measure not only protects the environment, but also rebalances trade by discouraging inefficient, outdated technologies that contribute disproportionately to carbon emissions. Joining the fray, Denmark has ended key financial supports that previously gave U.S.-made electric vehicles a competitive advantage in the European market. By discontinuing subsidies, Denmark has indirectly signaled that American companies can no longer rely on state-assisted cost benefits to maintain their market share in Europe. The cumulative effect of these measures has set off a domino effect, forcing global automakers to rethink their strategies and operations under a new regime of stringent environmental and technical standards. Together, these strategic moves represent more than just isolated policy decisions. They are part of a calculated effort to protect and promote European interests, while holding American companies accountable for failing to meet rapidly evolving global standards. The regulatory crackdown is already evident in the staggering numbers: 12,000 U.S.-made electric vehicles seized at European ports, and a catastrophic loss of over 200,000 jobs in the U.S. auto industry within a mere 3 weeks. The stakes are high not just for automakers, but for the entire ecosystem that supports them. When Europe initiated these wide-ranging policies, the U.S. auto industry found itself caught in a perfect storm of regulatory and economic disruption. The immediate impacts were both dramatic and far-reaching. As the certification freeze in Germany took hold, tens of thousands of vehicles, many of them state-of-the-art electric models, were either delayed or outright seized at various European ports. The inability to verify that U.S. vehicles met the newly enforced data sovereignty and emission standards has led to a massive export snarling. The visual of these vehicles, bundled up behind customs lines, quickly became a symbol of the U.S. industry's vulnerability in a global market where standards evolve at lightning speed. The financial consequences of this regulatory crackdown were swift and severe. In the immediate aftermath, major automakers such as Tesla, Ford, and General Motors saw their stocks nosedive. Tesla's stocks fell by nearly 11%, Ford's by 9%, and GM experienced a 7% drop. Investors, already jittery from recent market volatility, began to question the strategic foundations of U.S. automakers. The valuation swings contributed to a staggering market loss of more than $100 billion in an alarmingly short period. This financial hemorrhaging underscores the broader message. American automotive giants are facing an existential crisis as they struggle to adapt to a rapidly shifting global landscape. Perhaps the most heart-wrenching consequence of this crisis is the plight of the workforce. With over 200,000 jobs lost in the auto sector within a matter of weeks, families, communities, and entire regions that once thrived on auto manufacturing are now plunged into uncertainty. Factories that once buzzed with thousands of skilled workers are now eerily silent, their assembly lines halted by a barrage of canceled export contracts and plummeting production orders. The human cost of these economic decisions is immense, and it paints a sobering picture of the trade-off inherent in protectionist policies and regulatory shifts. This segment of our analysis demonstrates how deeply interconnected regulatory decisions are with every aspect of economic life, from high finance to everyday employment. The disruption unravels not only the intricate supply chains that bind the auto industry together, but also the fabric of communities that rely on these industries for their livelihoods. As the U.S. auto industry reels from these setbacks, Japanese manufacturers have emerged not only unscathed, but also strategically positioned to seize the opportunity. Over the years, companies like Toyota, Honda, and Nissan have honed a business model that emphasizes efficiency, environmental sustainability, and technological innovation. Now, in the midst of American turmoil, these companies are accelerating their plans to expand production and innovate further. Unlike their American counterparts, Japanese firms had long anticipated the resurgence of trade protectionism. With heavy investments already in place, such as Toyota's $5 billion allocation for hybrid production in Japan and Honda's strategic expansions in regions like Thailand, these companies were ready to respond swiftly. They have ramped up production in regions like Southeast Asia and are investing in cutting-edge technologies such as solid-state batteries and advanced automation in their manufacturing processes. This proactive approach not only safeguards their foothold in the global market, but also positions them as trendsetters in the rapidly evolving electric vehicle (EV) and hybrid segments. Japanese automakers have built a reputation for lean manufacturing, a philosophy that minimizes waste while maximizing efficiency. In contrast to the sprawling, resource-dependent models prevalent in the U.S., Japanese companies operate on a streamlined balance of productivity and innovation. This approach has allowed them to maintain robust supply chains even in the face of global disruptions. As American companies struggle to meet the tightened European standards, Japanese manufacturers are reaping the benefits of agile production systems and diversified operations that span across multiple regions. The repercussions for the U.S. auto industry are now creating a vacuum in the global market, a vacuum that Japanese manufacturers are quick to fill. Despite the tariff-induced challenges faced by American automakers, Japanese vehicles continue to hold strong appeal due to their reliability, fuel efficiency, and advanced technologies. With persistent consumer preference for knowledgeable engineering and long-term performance, these companies have not only maintained their existing market share, but are in the process of expanding it further. In fact, even after the implementation of severe tariffs on vehicles from North America, Japanese brands have adapted by allocating production capacity in strategic locations, ensuring that they remain both competitive and profitable. By capitalizing on the chaos in the U.S. market, Japanese automakers are proving that resilience and proactive innovation are the keys to long-term success. Their ability to rapidly adjust to new regulatory environments and invest in future technologies serves as a wake-up call for industries worldwide, demonstrating that flexibility and foresight can turn disruption into opportunity. No discussion of the current economic maelstrom would be complete without addressing the role of U.S. tariff policies under the Trump administration's America First approach. Though originally intended to protect domestic jobs and stimulate American manufacturing, these policies have instead set off a series of unintended, far-reaching consequences. In March 2025, the U.S. government imposed a 25% tariff on vehicles imported from Mexico and Canada. Ostensibly a move to bolster domestic production, this tariff inadvertently struck Japanese automakers the hardest. Many Japanese companies have established manufacturing facilities in Mexico and Canada to enjoy lower production costs and faster delivery times. As a result, these tariffs have disrupted an intricately balanced supply chain, creating an environment of uncertainty and operational inefficiencies. The immediate aftermath saw Japanese vehicle prices in the U.S. leap by 5% to 10%, with longer delivery times and persistent consumer demand underscoring the complex interplay of international trade measures. While the auto industry bore the brunt of tariff-related complications, other sectors have not escaped unscathed. Consider the aviation industry, where American manufacturing titan Boeing has been forced to adjust its strategies as a direct consequence of protective tariffs. In an effort to cut costs, Boeing decided to shift a portion of its production to Mexico, a move that was met with a devastating reaction from the Trump administration in the form of a staggering 200% tariff on certain products. For Boeing, this meant that planes originally worth $100 million in the U.S. market were suddenly priced at an astronomical $300 million. The outcome: a dramatic 8% dip in Boeing's stock value within just 2 days, along with widespread anxiety among investors who now face an industry beset by volatility and uncertainty. The ramifications of these protectionist policies extend well beyond manufacturing. The unstable tariff environment has had a pronounced impact on the financial markets. The U.S. 10-year Treasury bond rate, for example, surged from 1.5% to 1%, the highest climb in 2 decades. This surge has not only increased borrowing costs, but also created widespread concerns regarding fiscal stability and long-term economic sustainability. Additionally, the stock market itself took a nosedive, with the Dow Jones dropping 2,000 points in a single week. For individual investors, the result was an immediate erosion of asset value, with even modest investments experiencing steep losses. Moreover, the uncertainty of these policies is making it extraordinarily difficult for major companies to plan ahead. Technology giants like Apple, Dell, and HP are now grappling with delayed financial forecasts and increased production costs for essential electronic components. For instance, if a 25% tariff is applied to parts imported from China, prices for popular consumer products, such as the iPhone 12 or the Dell XPS 13 laptop, could rise significantly. Consumers, already on edge due to global economic instability, now face the prospect of paying much more for everyday essentials. Trump's tariff policies were designed to protect American industries, but the fallout paints a picture of a delicate balance shattered by reactive measures. Instead of creating an environment conducive to long-term growth, these protectionist moves have inadvertently provided opportunities to competitors while inflicting severe damage on domestic industries. Beyond the immediate downturns in the auto and aviation sectors, a myriad of additional industries and consumer markets are feeling the heat as these policies ripple outwards, affecting virtually every corner of the economy. Major transportation companies such as UPS and FedEx have seen their shipping costs soar by as much as 15% within a single quarter. This surge is not confined to the U.S. alone, but contributes to a global supply chain challenge that could eventually result in losses upward of $1 billion over ensuing months. As logistical networks buckle under increased pressure, exacerbated by ongoing shortages, longer delivery times, and fluctuating inventory levels, the final cost is ultimately passed onto the consumer. Daily necessities, from groceries to household goods, now face price hikes that many families find increasingly difficult to absorb. One of the more dramatic examples of these far-reaching consequences can be seen in Alaska. Known for already having one of the highest costs of living in North America, Alaska now grapples with an additional economic shock that is both literal and metaphorical. The only road connecting the state to the mainland, a 1,387-mile lifeline, has become even more expensive to traverse. This rise in transportation costs is poised to further inflate the price of essential goods, such as fuel and food. For residents, who already allocate a significant portion of their income to these necessities, the additional financial burden could prove devastating. Tourism, a vital component of Alaska's economy generating nearly $2 billion annually, is also at risk. With travel costs skyrocketing, it is projected that a substantial number of tourists could cancel their trips, thereby exacerbating local economic woes and imperiling the livelihoods of countless small business owners. Even the technology sector has not been immune to these cascading effects. With tariff uncertainties making the import of vital electronic components unpredictable, companies like Intel are facing production challenges that could stall microchip manufacturing, a critical element of modern consumer electronics. In addition, Apple has warned that its revenue from key products such as iPhones and MacBooks may fall by 5% to 8% if components continue to be delayed or become more expensive. As global supply chains become increasingly strained by ongoing uncertainties, consumers can expect a slower pace of innovation and higher prices in the market for cutting-edge electronic devices. The overall economic instability has sent shockwaves through the financial sector, with sharp rises in U.S. Treasury bond rates and a significant drop in stock market indices. For instance, even a modest investment in a Dow Jones index fund could experience losses that palpably hit the average American's retirement accounts, leading to widespread anxiety about future financial stability. These market tremors are a stark reminder of how interconnected international trade policies and domestic fiscal health truly are. Each strand of this complex web of economic consequences builds upon the other, from the seizure of electric vehicles and plummeting stock prices to the increased operational costs across industries and the subsequent impact on consumer wallets. The narrative is one of unintended fallout. The ripple effects of aggressive policy shifts in one region are proving to be the catalyst for widespread economic instability on a global scale. As we take in the extensive details of these economic shocks, the crucial question looms: what does this all mean for the future of the U.S. auto industry, and indeed, for global industry as a whole? The answer is neither simple nor one-dimensional. Here are some of the pivotal questions and reflections that must guide our thinking moving forward. American automakers now find themselves at a crossroads. Can they adapt quickly enough to meet Europe's stringent environmental and safety standards? Historically, U.S. companies have prided themselves on innovation and grit, but the current crisis demands rapid and radical change. With the loss of certifications, plummeting production, and a shrinking workforce, the survival of these companies hinges on their ability to transform operations in a market where technological advancements and sustainability are the currencies of success. This might involve a pivot toward greener technologies, tighter supply chain integration, and even strategic partnerships with global players. The past few weeks have been an eye-opener for businesses that once took a smoothly interconnected global supply chain for granted. From the automotive and aviation sectors to the tech giants of Silicon Valley, no one is immune to the fallout of sudden policy shifts. The current landscape reinforces the need for resilience, diversification, and proactive risk management. Companies that had previously diversified production across several continents now find themselves better equipped to navigate these turbulent times. Japanese manufacturers, in particular, stand out as exemplars of how diversified operations can provide a cushion against geopolitical shocks. Ultimately, these policy decisions affect the daily lives of millions of people. From rising grocery bills to higher fuel prices and increased costs for everyday electronics, consumers are at the front lines of these economic upheavals. The cascading effects of aggressive tariffs and regulatory actions remind us that every decision made at the governmental or corporate level reverberates throughout the economy. As these policies continue to evolve and impact various sectors, the focus must remain squarely on ensuring that consumers are not left shouldering an unbearable financial burden in the process. While U.S. industries grapple with the fallout of protectionist strategies, international competitors are not merely surviving, they are thriving. Companies such as Airbus and China Comarmac have seized the moment to expand their market presence in sectors where America was once dominant. This shift is a vivid illustration of how protectionist policies, while well-intentioned, often end up protecting foreign competitors even more effectively than domestic ones. As global competitors gain ground, the American industrial landscape risks being reshaped by forces that are both agile and adaptive. The unfolding situation presents a stark picture of how geopolitical decisions and trade policies can disrupt entire industries. Europe's calculated regulatory strikes, designed to enforce higher environmental and data standards, have not only upended the U.S. auto industry, but have also ushered in a broader wave of economic instability, affecting everything from aviation to consumer electronics. At the same time, Trump's tariff strategies, initially aimed at protecting American jobs, have instead unleashed a series of counterproductive consequences. Whether it's the costly shift in production strategies by Boeing or the soaring prices of everyday tech products, the message is clear. In today's interdependent global economy, aggressive protectionism carries significant risks. Looking forward, the case of the U.S. auto industry serves as a cautionary tale about the pitfalls of short-sighted policies. The crisis encourages us to reflect on the need for flexible, forward-thinking strategies that benefit not only domestic industries, but also the global market as a whole. As industry leaders reassess their priorities, those who adapt by investing in sustainability, technological innovation, and resilient supply chains will be best positioned to succeed in the long run. This narrative is far from over. With every passing day, new developments continue to reshape the landscape of global trade and industry. What remains certain is that the ripple effects of today's decisions will be felt for years to come. For the American auto industry, the road ahead is riddled with challenges, but also opportunities for reinvention and growth. Meanwhile, the global marketplace stands as a testament to the power of resilience, innovation, and the relentless pursuit of progress, even when the odds seem insurmountable. As we bring this comprehensive analysis to a close, we leave you with a thought-provoking question. In an era where protectionist policies can backfire spectacularly, what is the true cost of safeguarding national interests at the expense of global cooperation? The answers may well shape the future of not only the U.S. auto industry, but the entire world of international trade. Thank you for joining us on this deep exploration of one of the most dramatic episodes in global economic history. Stay tuned as we continue to cover emerging stories and analyze the long-term impacts of these seismic shifts in industry and policy. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon for more insightful updates on how global trade, technological advancements, and economic policies interconnect to shape our everyday lives. Your engagement and curiosity drive our quest to understand and report on these pivotal moments in modern history. In summary, the unfolding drama in the global auto and manufacturing sectors is a potent reminder that the interplay between domestic policies and international standards can lead to unexpected and far-reaching consequences. As the U.S. auto industry wrestles with unprecedented challenges, from frozen certifications and plummeting stock prices to massive layoffs and halted production, international competitors are quick to move in and secure their positions. At the same time, tariffs and trade disputes ripple outwards, affecting industries as diverse as aviation, technology, and even regional economies like Alaska's. This is a story of adaptation, resilience, and the high stakes of modern economic warfare. Ultimately, the events we've discussed underscore a critical takeaway. In a world where the curves of policy and economics are interwoven, the actions of a few key players can trigger global repercussions. As nations and companies alike navigate this treacherous terrain, the imperative becomes clear. Adaptability and long-term strategic planning are not just optional strategies. They are essential for survival in an ever-evolving global market.